Hi, Rory.
Hi. Obviously, I guess the big story really of the week is Ben and his having to withdraw from the squad. Before we talk about cricketing sort of implications of that, just maybe a word from you on a personal level for Ben.
Yeah, from my point of view, I just want my friend to be okay. I think anyone that knows Ben always puts other people in front of himself and first. And I think now's an opportunity for him to put himself first, to take time to look after himself and get himself into a good place again. And hopefully that can be sooner rather than later. And I think cricket has to be a secondary thought a long way down the line. And he should take as much time as he needs. He's got my full support on that. I've been assured that it's got the ECB's full support on that, and certainly the whole team's support on that. So more than anything, we all just want Ben to be okay. And yeah, he's got everyone behind him.
Absolutely. If we were to then sort of extrapolate outwards a little bit, just to a cricketing level, having said that, we know in the past the difficulty it gives you as a captain, really, in terms of there isn't a like for like replacement for Ben Stokes. That doesn't really exist, so it gives you a bit of a quandary. How are you looking to address that this time?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, there's no one that compares to Ben Stokes in world cricket. So obviously, for a long time now, he's been very much the heartbeat of this team, and with that does present opportunities for others to step up to the plate and to put in big performances. We've seen that in the past, guys have been able to manage that. There have been times when we've been without Ben, and the likes of Sam Curran, Chris Wokes have come in, and against India even, you look at that last series, Chris's performances at Lords, Sam's throughout that whole series. And, even more recently, that test match against Pakistan at Old Trafford, that partnership between Joss and Chris was match defining. So we have found ways to manage to win without Ben there. And this is another opportunity for us to try and do that. Hopefully we can start with that this week here at Trent Bridge and then take it forward from there.
And just one more. I just wonder how you feel just chatting to the guys and sort of since the group got back together, really, where you see the sort of the mindset really since you were last together in the New Zealand series, and there was Chris Silverwood talked about maybe getting away and getting a bit of freedom through playing in the 100 and I don't know, clearing your minds and letting all that go to one side. Just how do you reckon everyone's faring up?
Yeah, and I think that actually a number of guys have taken that on board and come back in a really good place. They've gone away. A number of players have had the opportunity to experience one-day international cricket for the first time. There's obviously been the 100 and T20 cricket where guys have gone back and put in good performances and played really well and come back in a really good headspace. So that's always good. I think you look at the scheduling as it is and has been for a number of years now, as test players, you've got to be adaptable. You've got to be able to flick between the formats and find ways of taking confidence across into test cricket. And this is another opportunity to do that. And feel like the guys have turned up and we practiced yesterday and there was a good feeling around that. So hopefully we can carry that forward into the games and into the rest of the series. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with where the team's at, where the morale's at, and it's now about preparing as best we can and playing with confidence in this first game to set things up for the 5-match series.
Nice one, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Cheers, Rory. We'll go Paul Newman and then John Etheridge.
Hi, Joe. Just going back to Ben for a second. Obviously, the schedules are fiercer than ever, especially post-pandemic. You've got so much cricket coming up. How much of a warning is this to the authorities that something has to give? Because we think of Ben as being indestructible almost, doesn't he? So if it happens to him, can it happen to a lot more people if you're relentlessly on the road?
I think that's why it's important that we continue to keep talking, especially whilst we're in safe living environments, bubble environments, that there's good, honest conversations between the players, between the ECB, between management, so that players can be looked after as best as possible. In terms of scheduling, that's way off my remit. We've tried as best as we can over the last year to look after the players in terms of resting, rotating giving guys the opportunity to get out of very difficult environments so that they can be as fresh as for as long as possible. And that's produced different challenges as well within the actual cricket side of things. But ultimately, it's meant that the players have been given the opportunity to try and stay in a good headspace, to stay mentally fresh, and not have to continually keep living in bubbled environments. So it's going to be important that we manage that well, and that there's good, honest conversations that continue to keep happening.
So do you think it is, more in these times, because obviously cricket has always necessitated long time away on the road, that's not going to change? Do you think it's more the way we're living at the moment, and the way you guys are being forced to live at the moment, that makes the problem more acute than actual time away itself?
Yeah, I mean, we, like you say, there's as international players for a long period, as long as I've known, we've always spent long periods away from home, and that's a challenge in itself, and that will never change. That's always going to be a challenge, but it's certainly been heightened with the environment that we find ourselves currently. And I think it's just important that we keep talking about that we said from the outset that we don't see this as a sustainable way of living and a sustainable way of playing, and try to manage it as well as we can. So I can see that being a continued thing, that we just need to keep managing it as best as we can. As players, be honest as well, when it's hard and it's becoming too much, that you talk to people, and you make sure you give yourself the best chance of staying in a good place. But yeah, it is a challenge at the moment, and we have to be honest about that, and just keep trying our best to look after each and every single one of us as best as we can.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go John and then Dean Wilson. We'll do Scott Taylor talk toward the end. So go ahead, John.
Just on that, Joe, obviously Ben's a close friend of yours. Did you have an inkling that he was in need of a break, or did it come out in the blue to you as well?
No, I had a conversation with Ben, and that's when I found out. He was very honest with me on the call, and that should stay between the two of us. It was, as I say, for me, it's hard to see a friend like that. But more than anything, I just want him to be okay. So we got, what was said between us two stays between us two. And I think throughout this thing, it's really important people respect his privacy and give him the best chance to deal with this in his own way. But yeah, I'm just desperate for him to be okay. And like I say, I'll be there for him as much as I can be in whatever way he wants.
Sure. And you've been captain for a while now, but the next two series are huge: India home, Australia away. Do you think in some ways the next 6 months could define your captaincy?
It could do, but ultimately tomorrow could define things, the day after could define it. I think it's just really important that I try and get the side as prepared as possible, and I'm ready to perform as a player, as a captain, in the best possible way in this very next game, and look after that right now, because start thinking what's to come in 6 months' time, it can very easily distract you from the here and now, and have a knock-on effect on what's really important, which is starting well in this series. So yeah, I'm sure people will make those opinions and those decisions on me as a captain and my career, but as a player, all you can do is try and look after right now and perform now. So that's all I will continue to do, is just give my best for England cricket, give my best for this team, and try and help us win as many test matches as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, Dean.
Yeah, hi Joe. Wrapped up in what we've been talking about has also been the issue about the Ashes and families going on tour and time away. Where do you stand on that? Are you preparing to be there without a number of players if their families are not able to travel? And likewise, are you prepared to undertake that tour without your family?
From a player's point of view, from my point of view, the way I see it is, until we know what the lay of the land is, until we know what the scenario is, it's very hard to make any sort of decision. So I think we have to continue conversations with the ECB and be very honest about things, work together on it, and try and give a good, clear communication both ways, and have a good understanding of what's going on, so that they can work with Australia to try and come up with what it's going to look like when we get there. What I will say is, as players, and from my point of view, is going and playing Ashes cricket in Australia, having the opportunity for England to lift that urn, is one thing that you dream about from being, from being 4, 5, 6 years old, and that does not change. Of course, there are challenges. Of course, there are things, but everyone's desperate to be a part of an Ashes series in Australia. It's just at what cost? And until we know what the lay of the land is, it's very difficult to make any sort of decision. But we're still very passionate about Ashes cricket. We know our responsibilities as players, and in wanting to look after the integrity of Test cricket, the implications of this tour. So, of course, any decision that is made will not be made lightly, and off the hip, it will be very well considered and worked through with the ECB, with the PCA, and hopefully, we can find ourselves in Sydney or Perth or wherever that final Test match is, lifting the urn.
Just a couple of questions on the series coming up here. Obviously, your priority is to beat India. What sort of selection issues are you thinking about at the moment? Can you tell us anything about the team? I know it's 2 days out, but for example, will Ollie Robinson play his next Test match?
I think we've got a lot of things to consider, and balancing the side again is, as mentioned, with Ben not being there, is something that will probably take a lot of the thinking, and be one of the challenges we want to try and get right on this ground in these conditions. So there's a number of things to consider. It's probably a little bit too far out to give too much away at this stage. But we've got a talented squad of players. We've got a number of different ways we could go. And yeah, very excited with the challenge that this series presents, this first game presents, and hopefully we can start well.
And just finally for me, at the back end of the New Zealand series, there were some pretty interesting comments about the batting from Nasser Hussain, about the approach that your batsmen have been taking. Did those comments get taken to heart, and how do you think that your batsmen, including yourself, will respond in this series?
Well, I know that the guys are desperate to go out there and put some big scores on the board. I mean, that's certainly not changed. It was actually nice to see so passionate about English cricket. Of course, didn't always agree with what he was saying, and that's fine. But you can tell how passionate he is about wanting England to be successful and do well. As players, I think the guys have done what they can in terms of go away, perform well in white ball cricket, in the cricket that's been available to them, get their confidence in good places, and hopefully now we can hit this series really well, hit the ground running, get off to those good starts, make big partnerships, make big individual scores, and work with that score pressure that we've talked about for a long time now. Implement the game plan better than the opposition, and find ourselves in a good place at the end of the first 5 days.
Thanks, Joe.
Cheers,
okay, we'll finish off with Scott Taylor. A couple of questions from Scott, please.
Hey Joe, good to see you. I know professional cricketers don't tend to look at their stats, but you need 22 runs to become England's all-time leading run scorer in all formats, and another win will take you above Michael Vaughan in terms of wins as Test captain. So how excited are you by the prospect of what could be a historic week for yourself?
I'd be more excited as winning. Winning the first Test match, starting well, trying to win this series. It's a huge series for us. And it's a great opportunity for us to play India, one of the best sides in the world, at home in our own conditions. Be nice to start strongly. From a personal point of view, like you say, as a player, you look back at your stats and what you've achieved at the end of your career. So I know that if I go out and score big runs, it gives us the opportunity to win the game, and that side of things will look after itself. But Test cricket's not about you. It's not about you as an individual. It's about winning for England and contributing towards that, something bigger than yourself. And that's the mindset I'll have going into this series and into this game. And hopefully we can outplay India.
And just finally, we've seen the new sort of audience of cricket fans come in through the 100 this summer. So are you hoping that a few of them then can tune into the test matches and then be hooked on that?
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons for the 100 is to widen the broader audience of cricket, and I think it's done a wonderful job. I've really enjoyed being a part of it in those first 2 games that I managed to play in. I've enjoyed watching it on the telly, and there's been some wonderful matches. So long may that continue, long may we keep growing the game, growing it. I think that from a women's game as well, I think that's going to go from strength to strength as it has done for last couple of years now. I think it's going to go through the roof off the back of this tournament, and like you say, widening the reach of cricket. Hopefully that can continue. And I think it started very well in that respect, and long may that continue. Hopefully get some new viewers in the test arena, and they can enjoy what I see as the pinnacle of the game.
Perfect. Thank you.